Marire. My prayer this morning is that although we are the furthest nation from the genocide happening in Gaza, our voices will be heard. My prayer this morning is that the people of America who support the genocide in Gaza will remember the words of Martin Luther King and rise up and be true to their creed, that all men and women are equal. My prayer this morning is that the soldiers of Israel will remember that the hatred in their hearts they were not born with. My prayer is that the people of Jerusalem will remember that when Salah ad-Din ruled Jerusalem, no Jewish people were hurt. That was the result. That was the role of the Crusaders who came from Europe. My prayer is for peace and the end of this genocide. Pai Māori de.
Kia ora pita. Mōrena kia koutou. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for watching. Today we are here to insist on the well-being and hear from the family members of the 3 people who have been detained, who are hostages in Israel right now. Today you will hear from a family member representing each of Yousef, Rana and Samuel. You are going to hear about what we are asking from the government, and then we will be happy to take questions. The main point I need to make very clearly, we are here because the whānau, the families, have asked for this platform. The families have asked for a voice to be very clear about what needs to happen right now. And it is our honour to be able to support their voice and amplify what they are going through right now. So we are now going to pass over to the family members. Kia ora.
Kia ora all. I'm here today to speak on behalf of my younger brother Yousef Samur, who has been illegally and forcibly detained by Israeli occupation forces in international waters. Yus comes from a loving Palestinian Christian family. He grew up right here in Aotearoa, New Zealand. By profession, my brother is a civil engineer, but anyone who knows him knows that he is much more than that. Yousef is one of the most selfless people I know. Even as a child, he was always the first to give, even when he had nothing left for himself. Yousef's deep love for the ocean, for spearfishing and diving, led him to complete a master's degree in yacht design. Yousef's not a politician. He is not seeking attention nor glory. Yousef is a deeply compassionate New Zealander who found it difficult to turn away from injustice. His goodness shines through in everything he does, and he is adored by his family, his friends, and his co-workers. Yousef has always believed from a young age with unshakable conviction that love and courage can move the world. That belief and the horror of watching the most recent Palestinian genocide unfold before his very eyes is what has led him to this very moment. Yousef sailed directly into danger, risking his very life, with nothing but compassion and humanitarian aid on board, not because he wanted to, but because our governments have failed to act. In the face of that failure, millions of people around the world have been flooding the streets, and hundreds of ordinary people from all over the world have sailed to Gaza to deliver aid and medicine to starving children. Starved children. These people's bravery only serves to highlight the shameful inaction of those in power. Today, I urge the New Zealand government to demonstrate the principled leadership that defines us as a nation, and to finally show the moral courage that people like Yousef, like Rana, and like Samuel have shown in abundance. I'm speaking to you, Christopher Luxon. I'm speaking to you, Winston Peters. Today, I am calling on you to act. not just with your words, with principle, with urgency, and with courage. My requests are clear. I want the New Zealand government to do everything in its power to secure the immediate release of Yousef, Rana, and Samuel from their illegal detention. I want the New Zealand government to impose sanctions on Israel for its persistent violations of international law, violations that have spanned over 7 decades now, and now include the kidnapping of peaceful humanitarians, Kiwis, in international waters. These are not radical or partisan demands. These are clear moral imperatives that transcend politics, faith, or ethnicity. New Zealand, you must not continue to hide behind neutrality while our citizens and our core human values are shamefully jeopardized and attacked in this way. Yousef, if you somehow see this, we miss you. We surround you with all our love. Please come back home safe to us. Thank you.
Kia ora. My name is Hiba Hamida. I am the sister of Rana Hamida, who's kidnapped by the Israeli occupation force on the 1st of October 2025 in the international water. Rana, she's an amazing soul. She's an artist. She do all kind of art. She dance, she sing, she love life. She love the ocean, she love the green. And Rana, for me, when she born, she was my little toy when I was 5 years old. And when she get a little bit older, she started to be my sister. You know, like the one you fight, you play with. She get a little bit more older. She start being my friend, sharing with her secret, adventure. A little bit older, she become an auntie, amazing auntie, who play with her, with my kids. When my kids, they try to kill a bug in the home or spider, she stop them. She run to them, she's like, no. She take it outside. How do you imagine this kind of human and person can see the genocide and the starving kids in Gaza, Palestine, and not react and not do anything? It's like, it's impossible to anybody see that and not do anything. And with her other friends and other activists, they went to this mission to go and deliver aid, toys, food, baby formula for the people of Gaza. And she done. And she was trying with her friends to do what our government should do. Government failed all of us. And Rana now, with her friends, they are in hunger strike. Solidarity with Palestinian in Gaza, and also because she because she refused as well to sign to her waiver, who contends she entered the occupation Palestine in illegal way, and this doesn't happen because they get kidnapped in the international water, and millions of people they was watching that live. So I'm just gonna ask our government to react and bring our loves home, safe and in a good health. Thank you.
Kia ora te whānau, ko Adi Leeson toka wingua, representing my wife Shelley and Samuel's brothers and sisters. Samuel's one of 8 children, and he grew up in Otaki, a little village north of Wellington. He's been raised on a farm, grew up milking a cow, grew up playing in a piece of paradise. He has had a formation from his kaumatua in our village and from his Catholic faith. He is a young man who is full of compassion. The last thing Samuel said on our communications when he was still at sea was, please keep the focus on Yousef and Rana. When Palestinians come into Israeli jails, they suffer a great deal. Please keep the focus and the eyes of the country on them. I am very worried about Samuel as he sits in a cell right now, in a cage, crammed in with many other people. He probably has injuries on his wrists from being zip-tied. He has been without water and legal representation. What I'm really worried about is Samuel having his heart broken. He has got so close, they've all got so close to that beach, and all of those supplies that they have been carrying and organising for all these many weeks got so close, and now they've all been spoiled, they've all been taken. And I think Samuel was, I'm so worried for him because I know his heart, I know my son, and his heart will be breaking because he failed. He failed. The ships didn't land and the supplies didn't get through. He spent the early part of this year with 3,000 other ordinary people trying to walk across the Sinai desert, carrying milk powder, carrying supplies. Day after day, they tried to get across that desert and got turned back again and again, and they failed. And so he's sitting there now, and he's looking at the wreckage of all his efforts, and I'm worried he's heartbroken. I'm also worried that he's heartbroken because the country that he loves, he is ashamed. He is ashamed of his leaders. He is ashamed of his country. When faced with the choice of supporting the Palestinians in the middle of a genocide and a starvation and amongst all these war crimes, our government is choosing to support and offer comfort and legitimacy to the Zionist regime. Our government is choosing the nation of Israel over the most vulnerable and persecuted people in the region. And I think that is going to be heartbreaking for Samuel. And he has to come back, and he has to come back to his home, and he won't know it, he can't recognise it, because this is not the country he thought he belonged to. And I fear for that. A heartbreak is a very difficult thing to heal. Not long ago, I don't think he knew how to spell the word genocide. And now he's in a position to school our leaders on the subject. Our leaders who have no idea, who willingly refuse to accept what we're all seeing on our television screens night after night. The heartbreaking images of a nation that has suffered the explosives equivalent to 2 atomic bombs. It has been annihilated, and our country's leaders are looking the other way. I'm worried for Samuel. I don't know how Israel comes back from. How do you come back from genocide? All I know is what we can do, and we can call on our government to stop sporting cultural or business ties with this regime. This regime is a pariah, it's a killer, it's a breaker of all international laws, and it is a rogue state. We've been told for so many years that Israel is a beacon of light. Now it is a beacon of genocide. It is no beacon of light. It is a beacon of war crimes and mass murder. And it needs to be called out, it needs to be shamed, and it needs to find a way back. Israel has repented in the past. They've got a long story of repenting from all of their failures. That is the future that they have ahead of them. But we have to play our part, and our part is to be strong and stand firm with the Palestinians in the West Bank, in Gaza, and all of the thousands illegally locked up in jails. I ask that Samuel can come home as quickly as possible to be reunited with all his family. We miss him so much, and we pray for his safety along with the safety of Yousef and Rana and all of the participants in the Samud Flotilla.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Ko Yasmin Sarhan tōku ingoa. I'm here in my capacity as a Palestinian New Zealander, and I'm here to reiterate the demands that we have of the New Zealand government and also of our allies and community members. We've heard directly from the whānau of participants of the Global Samud Flotilla, of New Zealanders who've been abducted illegally in international waters. We're here to make really clear demands of the New Zealand government. First, we call on the New Zealand government to do everything in its power to bring back Yousef, Rana, and Samuel home. We want the government to make clear what concrete actions they will take, and let the public know what those actions will be. Second, we call on the New Zealand government to condemn the illegal interception of the Global Samud Flotilla. And third, we call on the New Zealand government to sanction Israel as a means to apply pressure on Israel towards its standing current position, which is peacemaking. To our supporters, to our allies, to our friends, to our whānau, to all New Zealanders who want peace and justice around the world, we have two asks of you today. First, we ask you to call and book a meeting with your MP this week to demand that those sanctions are put in place. Every MP is currently personally responsible for the safety of our New Zealanders who've been illegally abducted. We need all MPs on board to bring them home. And second, we ask you to sign the petition for sanctions. It's a simple Google, sanction, petition, action station. Google it, it'll be the first link up there. Kia ora koutou.
Israel has illegally kidnapped citizens who were sailing on international waters to break an illegal blockade on people being subjected to a genocide. Rana, Yousef, and Samuel did not have to do this. The hundreds of people on the flotilla did not have to do this. But they are doing what governments across the world are refusing to currently do, what tens of thousands of New Zealanders have taken to the streets calling for action on, and what millions worldwide are mobilising for. They were doing their bit to try and stop a genocide. They are trying to build a world in which our humanity actually means something. I just want to spell this out as clearly as possible. Israel has illegally abducted civilians who were trying to deliver food and supplies to civilians being illegally starved and murdered under illegal blockade. I emphasise this point of illegality because Luxon's government says that they want to be tough on crime. Rana, Yousef, and Samuel were operating entirely legally. Israel is not. Our government has a legal obligation to prevent genocide. It is presently washing its hands of that obligation. These whānau and the community have today, this morning, spelled out their demands for Luxon's government to tell us the plan to safely return Yousef, Rana, and Samuel. Secondly, to explicitly condemn the illegal interception of the Samud Flotilla. And thirdly, to sanction Israel for its war crimes. Luxon, Seymour, and Peters are proving that they would not have been the leaders of this country who chose to stand against apartheid South Africa. They would not have stood against the French and then the United States when it came to a nuclear-free Pacific. But this here, right now, this moment, is an opportunity to correct that course and to do the right thing. If they do not, their backbenchers have the power to. All 68 government MPs are personally individually responsible for whether the bill to sanction Israel progresses or does not. To make that clear, they are presently actively enabling or disabling those sanctions on Israel. We need just 6 of 68 government MPs to sign their support, and we get that bill onto the floor of the House. We are demanding that the government does everything in its power to make clear how it will return these 3 New Zealanders who have been illegally kidnapped from international waters, and we call on the government to sanction Israel for its war crimes. We are happy to take any questions on this kaupapa.
Have you heard directly or indirectly from the 3 hostages?
So I'm currently operating as the MP liaison to MFAT, and I am updated every day, and we chase up MFAT every few hours. I know that MFAT has also been providing direct updates to whānau members as well. And yes, we have had specific updates, as some of the whānau members have alluded to. Their treatment, the treatment of those who have been illegally abducted and are currently being held hostage, those 3 New Zealanders, it's so far from not good enough. You know, we're talking here about an entity that has a well-evidenced and recorded track record of abusing human rights, and they very clearly are doing the same here, not the least in illegally detaining these New Zealanders.
And Heather said that Rana was on hunger strike. How is she coping at the moment? Do you know?
Before she go on hunger strike, I had a news from her, like lawyers and the people see her. She get injured from her shoulder. I'm not sure how. Maybe pushing. I don't know. Violence. But I'm sure from the TV, whatever we see in the social media, the way how they deal with the situation, even their own people, they are violent with them when they tell them no for something they do and they don't like. So I cannot imagine how they're gonna be with those civilians, our activists, our, like, my daughter, I feel like she's my daughter when I get older. So sorry, she's my sister. So I cannot imagine how they deal with her.
And she's on hunger strike at the
Yeah,
moment.
she is.
What do you say to Christopher Luxon's comments that there had already been rules and warnings in place about travel to Gaza? That was his response when asked about that and asked about his government's role in trying to get the 3 hostages home.
These civilians were doing what they should not have had to do. The government, Christopher Luxon, has a legal obligation under the Genocide Convention to do everything that he possibly can to prevent genocide. And right now, he is refusing to disengage from business as usual with Israel, who it is well documented are currently committing a genocide. Christopher Luxon is not upholding his legal obligations, and as we've made clear in our statements this morning, these 3 New Zealanders were operating entirely legally. Israel has not, and our government has a legal obligation to respond.
MFAT said its consular division and call centre are experiencing extremely high email and call volumes regarding the flotilla, impacting its ability to provide emergency consular assistance to other New Zealanders in need. What's your message to the people that are calling about the flotilla?
So we've been in direct contact with MFAT about this in particular, and look, I think firstly we want to acknowledge New Zealanders are incredibly angry and frustrated at what has occurred here with this illegal abduction of these 3 New Zealanders and the illegal interception of the Global Samud flotilla. So they want somewhere to channel that anger. The message that we are outlining this morning is that New Zealanders should direct that frustration to direct calls to action to elected representatives. We all know, and many of us have been engaged directly with MFAT officials, and they are doing the best that they possibly can inside the policy constraints that they currently have around them. It is our elected officials that are making decisions in terms of how we represent ourselves as a country and the action that we undertake or do not. And again, to make that crystal clear, our country, all countries, have a legal obligation to uphold the Genocide Convention and to stop genocide unfolding before our very eyes. We moved at pace to sanction Russia for its illegal invasion into an occupation of Ukraine, 2 years into this genocide in Gaza, what is the hold-up for our government?
Can you shed some light on some of the conditions these detainees are in?
This is Acacia.
Kia ora koutou, my name is Acacia O'Connor. I'm the spokesperson on the ground for the Global Movement to Gaza Aotearoa. So a lot of it is we can't speak to for the safety of the people in the prisons and the families, but we've definitely had reports of people having their heads pushed against concrete, of passports being cut up. This isn't our three in particular. Dislocated shoulders and no access to clean water. Apparently there's a tap in the space where people are, but it's not, the water doesn't taste like water. And very limited food as well. So we're very deeply, deeply concerned about the 3 New Zealanders as well. Personal friends as well, so I'm very grateful to be able to do whatever we can.
Thank you.
What progress are you making with finding 6 MPs who are prepared to cross the floor?
Yeah, so I have had a number of direct engagements with backbench government MPs in a direct personal capacity, and by and large the message that I have received is that they are concerned about acting, and again this is a broad brushstroke, but they are concerned about acting for fear effectively of being reprimanded by the higher ups in their political parties. So I know for a fact that right now there are backbench government MPs who feel compelled to act, who do have a conscience, who have heard loud and clear from communities across Aotearoa that they want action. But as a result of us being the most whipped parliament in the Western world, they are currently terrified to step outside of their party lines. And I guess this is the clear imperative that we're putting on the table today, is that this is bigger than partisan politics. This is an opportunity for all of us as members of parliament to recognise that most of us actually won't be remembered when it comes to the history books, but what we do matters, especially when we realise that all 123 members of parliament are directly, personally responsible for whether this bill progresses or does not. So, yeah, I mean, we no longer need Christopher Luxon, we no longer need Winston Peters, and we definitely don't need that other guy. We just need 6 of 68 government MPs to show a spine and to stand on the right side of history.
Are Labour and Te Pāti Māori standing with you?
Yes, they are. So we had the immediate unequivocal support of Te Pāti Māori on the Unlawful Occupation of Palestine Sanctions Bill, and after a few months of working with Labour, we got their confirmation that they support the bill as well. That takes us to 55 of the 61 necessary understanding orders or speakers' rulings, which then enables the bill to get to the floor of the House under a change that happened in 2020.
There was another protest outside Winston Peters' home, we understand, last night. What have you made of that and some of the discourse from Mr Peters around protests outside his home?
Look, New Zealanders are angry. New Zealanders are upset. Let's come back to the basic facts here. Israel has illegally abducted 3 New Zealanders among hundreds of civilians who were all acting legally. These people were merely trying to deliver food aid to other people who are currently being subjected to a genocide. What kind of world are we being asked to accept where, for some reason, Palestinians are the ones who are needing to immediately justify themselves, as opposed to, again, these sanctions being applied to Israel for its war crimes? So I think if we just come back to the basic facts of human rights and justice, the fact that New Zealanders are wanting somewhere to express their frustration, and understandably that frustration is currently directly colliding with the members of parliament who are impediments to progress on this kaupapa.
We know that there are other New Zealanders on board a boat attempting to break the blockade. Did you have any messages for the government about what it could be doing to protect them? How concerned are we about this?
So yeah, some people spoke to the fact that this flotilla didn't make it through, but also there was a lot of wins. We did break the blockade for the first time since 2010, and while the Israeli Navy was dealing with the flotilla, illegally kidnapping people on the flotilla, people in Gaza were able to fish for the first time in a very long time. They were able to eat. And so this isn't a complete failure. And very shortly after, there is another boat, the Conscience, with Will, Alexander, and Ava Muller, 2 New Zealanders on it. And there are 11 boats from the 1,000 Madeleines to Gaza as well coming with them. And we can't give up, because we can't live in a world that is accepting genocide. And there were 26,000 people from all over the world that signed up to join the Global Samud Flotilla, and there are other organisations organising to do the same thing. And so we're going to have to keep going. We're going to have to get more boats, and we're going to have to keep trying, and we're going to have to go again and again and again until this blockade is broken and until Palestine is free. So in regards to your question about Will and Ava, we just hope that the government sorts itself out before they even get there, and that they demand that Israel doesn't kidnap them, that they let the aid through. They're carrying aid on their boat as well. And we hope that they've got a few days to really make some big changes in their policy.
Marama, he huarahi anō ka tae mena ka kore Luxon e whakarongo.
Haere tonu te mahi. Tū tonu ngā tangata toa, huri noa i ngā community, huri noa i ngā hapori i Aotearoa i te ao tonu, haere tonu te karanga, me ngā tono ki te kāwanatanga. Ko tērā te tino karanga o ēnei ngā whānau, ko tēnei te mahi o te ao, haere tonu te mahi, aue te whakamā a Luxon.
One final question.
Are there any MPs who you care to name who you think may be wavering? Put pressure on them?
Yeah, I am really conscious of naming those MPs who are showcasing explicitly in these conversations that they do have a conscience and they may potentially be willing, because it makes them a target. And I think that that probably exposes some of the big issues that we have with, our democracy at present, that we have this incredibly whipped, normalised way of operating with politicians not able to engage in broader conversations across party lines. So unfortunately, I'm going to be transparent with you. I'm not going to tell you the names of those MPs who are currently open to crossing the floor, because I think doing so would make them targets in the eyes of their leadership, and I do not think that is fair. But I would reiterate the call for New Zealanders who may be tuned into this to know that what they are doing is working by scheduling those meetings with their MPs and sitting face to face and talking through these issues with them. The excuses are whittling away. We know this because I get forwarded them every other day. We are seeing that those MPs no longer have a leg to stand on, and they are aware that a reckoning is coming.
Any numbers though?
Look, we would have the numbers if these MPs were not terrified of losing their jobs or their positions. All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for coming.